The Second Council of Nicaea is recognized as the seventh of the first 7 ecumenical councils by both West and East Orthodox Catholics, and Old Catholics unanimously recognize it. Protestant opinions on it are varied. It met in AD 787 in Nicaea to restore the use and veneration of icons, which had been suppressed by imperial edict inside the Byzantine Empire during the reign of Leo III. His son, Constantine V, had held the Council of Hieria to make the suppression official. Background: the veneration of icons had been banned by Byzantine Emperor Constantine V and supported by his Council of Hieria, which had described itself as the Seventh Ecumenical Council. The Council of Hieria was overturned by the Second Council of Nicaea only 33 years later, and has also been rejected by Catholic and Orthodox churches, since none of the 5 major patriarchs were represented. The emperor's vigorous enforcement of the ban included persecution of those who worshipped icons and monks in general. There were also political overtones to the persecution. Images of emperors were still allowed by Constantine, which some opponents saw as an attempt to give wider authority to imperial power than to the saints and bishops. Constantine's iconoclastic tendencies were shared by Constantine's son, Leo IV. After the latter's early death, his widow, Irene of Athens, as regent for her son, began its restoration, moved thereto by personal inclination and political considerations. In 784 the imperial secretary Patriarch Tarasius was appointed successor to the Patriarch Paul IV. He accepted on the condition that intercommunion with the other churches should be re-established, that is, that the images should be restored. However, a council, claiming to be ecumenical, had abolished the veneration of icons. So psychologically another ecumenical council was necessary for its restoration. Pope Adrian I was invited to participate, and gladly accepted. However, the invitation intended for the Oriental Patriarchs could not even be delivered to them. The Roman legates were an archbishop and an abbot, both named Peter. In 786, the council met in the Church of the Holy Apostles in Constantinople. However, soldiers in collusion with the opposition entered the church, and broke up the assembly. As a result, the government resorted to a stratagem. Under the pretext of a campaign, the iconoclastic bodyguard was sent away from the capital, disarmed and disbanded. The council was again summoned to meet, this time in Nicaea, since Constantinople was still distrusted. The council assembled on September 24, 787 at the Church of Hagia Sophia. It numbered about 350 members, 308 bishops or their representatives signed. Tarasius presided, and 7 sessions were held in Nicaea. Proceedings of the Council. First session, 3 bishops, Basilius of Ancyra, Theodore of Myra, and Theodosius of Amorium begged for pardon for the heresy of iconoclasm. Second session, papal legates read the letters of Pope Hadrian I asking for agreement with veneration of images, to which question the bishops of the council answered, "We follow, we receive, we admit." Third session, other bishops having made their abjuration, were received into the council. Fourth session, proof of the lawfulness of the veneration of icons was drawn from Exodus chapter 25 verse 19 SQQ, Numbers chapter 7 verse 89, Hebrews chapter 9 verse 5 SQQ, Ezekiel chapter 41 verse 18, and Genesis chapter 31 verse 34, but especially from a series of passages of the Church Fathers. The authority of the latter was decisive. Fifth session, it was claimed that the iconoclast heresy came originally from Jews, Saracens, and Manichaeans. Sixth session, the definition of the pseudo-Seventh Council was read and condemned. Seventh session, the Council issued a declaration of faith concerning the veneration of holy images. It was determined that, as the sacred and life-giving cross is everywhere set up as a symbol, so also should the images of Jesus Christ. the Virgin Mary, the holy angels, as well as those of the saints and other pious and holy men, be embodied in the manufacture of sacred vessels, tapestries, vestments, etc., and exhibited on the walls of churches, in the homes, and in all conspicuous places, by the roadside and everywhere, to be revered by all who might see them. For the more they are contemplated, the more they move to fervent memory of their prototypes. Therefore, it is proper to accord to them a fervent and reverent adoration, not, however, the veritable worship which, according to our faith, belongs to the divine being alone, for the honor accorded to the image passes over to its prototype, and whoever venerate the image venerate in it the reality of what is there represented. 8th session. The last session was held in Constantinople at the Magnaura Palace. The Empress Irene and her son were present and they signed the document. The clear distinction between the adoration offered to God, and that accorded to the images may well be looked upon as a result of the iconoclastic reform. The 22 canons drawn up in Constantinople also served ecclesiastical reform, careful maintenance of the ordinances of the earlier councils, knowledge of the scriptures on the part of the clergy, and care for Christian conduct are required, and the desire for a renewal of ecclesiastical life is awakened. The council also decreed that every altar should contain a relic, which remains the case in modern Catholic and Orthodox regulations, and made a number of decrees on clerical discipline, especially for monks when mixing with women. The papal legates voiced their approval of the restoration of the veneration of icons in no uncertain terms, and the Patriarch sent a full account of the proceedings of the council to Pope Hadrian I, who had it translated. This council is celebrated in the Eastern Orthodox Church and Eastern Catholic Churches of Byzantine writers, the Sunday of the Triumph of Orthodoxy, each year on the first Sunday of Great Lent, the fast that leads up to Pascha, and again on the Sunday closest to October 11th. The former celebration commemorates the council as the culmination of the Church's battles against heresy, while the latter commemorates the council itself.